Hey, welcome back to another 10-minute Marvel video, and this time I'm wrapping up kind of the dismissal of Jonathan Majors. Now, I'm not going to be talking about that specifically because I already did. You can check out a video that I put up on Monday. But yesterday I did a video on okay, who potentially could replace Majors. Today I want to do a video on do they need to replace him at all. So, one of the prevailing theories, and this was even prior to Majors being let go, was that Secret Wars was not going to be a Kang-centric movie. Secret Wars was going to be, Secret Wars, as it is in the comics, leaning into that a little bit more, because in both versions of Secret Wars, one of the major villains, is Doctor Doom. So, does that mean that Marvel potentially doesn't even need to replace Jonathan Majors? Kang has done what they wanted him to, which is set up the TVA, set up this idea of the multiverse even more, let us start leaning into that, set up our understanding of variance, which means we don't necessarily need a Kang anymore. So, is Marvel going to move away from that? And how would they do that? Greg and I talked about this in one of the podcast episodes on 10 Minute Marvel, where whether or not we wanted Doom to be the main villain for Secret Wars and kind of how that could work. I personally am up for it. I don't know that they need to bring in a new Kang. It sounds like the Kang Dynasty, the working title of that is now Avengers 5, so no real reason to bring back in a Kang if you don't need to. That post-credit scene of the Council of Kangs can just exist. That can exist for a while, and if Marvel ever wants to bring back a Kang arc, something like that in the future, it's out there for them to work off of. It's something that exists. It does make Quantumania, though, a really weird film if Kang isn't there. So, but let's talk about Doom instead. How do you bring Doom in? And my theory, and this was prior to, obviously, everything, was that you start dropping hints soon. In New World Order, if it's working towards a one world government or something like that within the world of the MCU, or stronger controls by the UN, whatever it might be, have Latveria be mentioned. Have Latveria be opposed to it. Set up that Latveria exists. With Thunderbolts, if you're going to have Vibranium and you're going to have or adamantium, Doom would be interested in that. Maybe introduce him as a buyer for it there. A Doom, somebody who's ready to purchase something. Then you introduce him in the Fantastic Four, but you don't introduce him as a bad guy. You introduce him as another scientist. You introduce him as the ruler of Latveria, and you just call it good. He's not really a villain until we get to see some of his backstory, some of his motivations, some of what's leading us to the decay and the destruction and the incursions of the multiverse at a faster pace than normal. It's because of Doom, and you do it in Avengers 5. Now, the Avengers are going to lose Avengers 5. This was probably always going to be the case. You have to get to the point where you have your Secret Wars, where you have kind of a final battle world scenario. This feels a lot like Infinity War and Endgame that way. But that worked very well. And I think if you play it right, the Avengers can still kind of win. They can do what's necessary, maybe to save their world or to stop some other villain besides Doom in Avengers 5. It's just going to be that it doesn't really matter. They stop the big bad, and, well, the incursions are still happening. The kind of the force that is the universes, that can't be stopped. In the comics, Valeria Richards, Sue and Reed's daughter, who's a genius as well, she has been working on the problem. She was working on the problem for her father of like, okay, how do we survive? How do we win in this incursion multiversal world? And the answer she gave was, you can't win. What you have to figure out now is how not to lose. I want to see that either at the end of Fantastic Four, but really at the end of Avengers 5, that would be phenomenal. But let me know your thoughts. Would you prefer to see Marvel recast Kang, or for them to go in a different direction, maybe move on to Doom and build up that way? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoy this content, enjoy Marvel coverage, check out our podcast, 10 Minute Marvel. Links for that are down below. For that, thanks for watching.